CTV News with Mitsumi Takahashi.
Good evening. There's a news conference held today by Montreal Police that's raising more questions than answers. Montreal Police have made 11 arrests, all teenagers. The SPVM was tasked with investigating what led to the fatal police shooting of 15-year-old Nouran Rezai last September in Longueuil. Now, Caroline, the SPVM says the 11 arrested were all at the scene at the time of the shooting.
Yes, police were unable to share many details owing to the fact that these individuals were between the ages of 13 and 17 at the time, but some of them do face serious charges. 4 of them are now young men, but they were all teenagers at the time of the incident, and 5 of the 11 have been arrested pursuant to warrants issued against them. The other 6 have been charged by summons. Now, the Crown alleges that 3 of the teenagers conspired the day before the fatal shooting to unlawfully confine, abduct, and assault a minor. Here's a variety of other charges they face.
They include, notably, conspiracy to kidnap, conspiracy to commit unlawful confinement, conspiracy to commit assault, wearing a disguise for a criminal purpose, possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose, unlawful assembly, and failure to comply with various court orders.
Now, this SPVM investigation was launched in parallel to the BEI, or Bureau of Independent Investigation, and that BEI investigation began immediately after Longueuil police alerted the Bureau that they had shot 15-year-old Nouran Rezai while descending on a group of teens in the street on September 21st of 2025. He later died. And while the BEI is investigating if use of force by police was warranted, Montreal police were tasked with looking at what led up to that intervention, and today they announced their findings. Montreal police would not give more details about the arrest, but did say that the teens arrested were related to the Longueuil police intervention and the reason police were brought to that scene. Meantime, the BEI investigation wrapped up in March but has not been made public yet. Reached this evening, a lawyer for the Rezai family said they are still awaiting answers to many of their questions, and they are suing the city of Longueuil for $2.2 million, while the families of 5 other teenagers who were with him have launched a separate lawsuit for $1.9 million. Mitsumi.
Thanks very much, Caroline. A heat warning has been issued for Montreal. It's the first heat wave of the season, and it's to start tomorrow. Now, Anastasia, public health is urging people to plan ahead.
That's right, Mitsumi. Montreal and much of Quebec is currently under a heat warning issued by Environment Canada. It's calling for daytime temperatures ranging from 30 to 33 degrees and humidex values running up to 44. So with that, public health is noting this as a period of, quote, intense heat. And as tempting as it may be to head outdoors, they are urging Quebecers to be safe. So that includes doing things like staying hydrated, drinking water, going and finding shade. Those are all measures that can help to counteract the heat. There is also a map of public pools and splash pads around the Montreal area available on our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca. That can be another good way to stay cool and to prevent heat exhaustion. But with this level of warmth, also important to look out for vulnerable groups. So that includes seniors, those who are living with chronic health conditions. It also includes those experiencing homelessness, and with tomorrow being moving day, it also includes those who are on the move. Let's take a listen to this clip.
We'll need to work with what they have, but obviously starting as early as possible or waiting till a little later, at least end of the afternoon, will avoid being exposed in the hottest part of the day, and taking your time. This is the same principle as if you're working tomorrow. If you're working outside tomorrow, if you're a landscaper, if you're a construction worker, if you're working in a factory that doesn't have air conditioning, it's the same principle. Regular breaks. Really, when it's hot like that, should be taking 15-20-minute breaks.
So Dr. David Kaiser from Public Health says that despite the heat, we have not triggered Public Health's heat plan. To trigger that, we need to hit an average temperature of 33 degrees across at least a period of 3 consecutive days. As of now, we're expecting to average just below that at 32. Mitsumi.
Thanks very much, Anastasia. A teenager is in critical condition after he was found unconscious in a backyard pool in Anjou. Police were called to the home late yesterday afternoon. Officers administered CPR. The 17-year-old was visiting a friend at the time. The Life Saving Society says the incident highlights the need to observe some basic swimming safety tips.
Never be alone. This is my first recommendation. Doesn't matter the age, gender, or what kind of bathing or swimming activity you have to do. But did you surestimate your swimming skills? Because to do some 2 or 3 breaststroke arms and put my feet in the bottom of the pool is you're not swimmer. Is maybe you're more bathers, have fun with water. So that's why it's very important to know this happened. Again, maybe could be also another reality with diving. Do we know if this young adults or teenager dive in the shallow end? Maybe could be a spinal injuries. So this is a kind of question we have in our mind.
There have been 22 drownings in Quebec so far this year. A 39-year-old woman is being charged with second-degree murder after a man was stabbed in downtown Montreal yesterday. According to witnesses, 2 people got into a fight on de la Gautitière near de Bouillon. One of them, a 44-year-old man, was fatally stabbed. The woman was arrested shortly afterwards. And 3 cars were damaged by fire last night in East End, Montreal. Police were called at around 10 o'clock. They found 3 cars parked on Pierre de Coubertin near De La Salle. They were on fire. The arson squad is investigating. A 24-year-old man from Quebec had to be rescued this past weekend after he fell on Mount Washington in New Hampshire. Rescue crews were called after the man fell about 15 meters down a ravine. The National Guard sent out a helicopter to get the man out and take him to hospital. Authorities say the ravine was not part of a hiking trail and is considered a dangerous climb. Heritage Montreal is accusing retailer JD Sports of gutting a century-old building downtown. Christine Long has more on that.
Over a century ago, 777 St. Catherine Street West was the Montreal City and District Savings Bank. Over the decades, the interior and exterior have been modified slightly. But now, the inside has been gutted, says Dino Bombaro of Heritage Montreal.
Now somebody decided this would all go to the dumpster.
Heritage Montreal is a non-profit dedicated to the protection of architectural history and says that since the 1990s, the city has assured this property would be maintained during development.
The integrity of the building is not just the appearance from the outside, it's also the inside, and municipalities have been granted authority and power since 2012 to at least have some consideration for the interior.
He says stakeholders involved turned a blind eye when it came time to build a new sports store here.
Just can't understand that the architect on this file didn't have their eye open, that the developer, the real estate broker, the whole chain failed somehow.
The mayor says the recommendations from the city are not binding.
The Heritage Council gives recommendations. It doesn't stop any buildings or any projects to go forward. It will give you recommendations. The recommendations can be from, we don't think this is a good project, and in order to make it happen, this is what we suggest.
People we spoke to said iconic locations should be preserved.
It's very important to preserve our historical architecture, and including inside and outside.
On devrait conserver les intérieurs puis essayer de restaurer les intérieurs.
Bombaro says city recommendations need more strength to make a real difference. CTV News asked JD Sports for an explanation, but were turned down.
So grand that you think it's a church or a temple, or maybe a temple to money.
Bombaro is asking the city to mandate its Heritage Council to investigate and identify effective measures to prevent other similar destructions. Christine Long, CTV News.
The Prime Minister says Canada will not meet its greenhouse gas emission targets. Mark Carney was moving to make Canadian energy superpower, and he says the gas emissions will be higher than projected under the previous government's plan. Mike Lukacsur has more.
The certainties of the world of 2015 are long gone. It's a sobering message about fighting climate change from Prime Minister Mark Carney. While saying the climate plan he inherited was well-intentioned for the time, Carney doesn't believe it fits today's realities.
The changes we have made will mean that our emissions will be higher in the next few years than they were projected to be under the previous government's plan. But in my judgment, that plan was not sustainable over the long term.
Now, that plan was to cut greenhouse gas emissions by 40 to 45% of 2005 levels by the year 2030. While still committed to lowering emissions, Carney did not set a new target for that goal.
We're already paying the price for that in terms of record heat, record temperatures in Canada and around the world.
Carney has rolled back a number of Trudeau-era climate policies, which the Prime Minister called an open opportunity to divide the country. In his first act as Prime Minister, Carney cancelled the consumer carbon tax. He also paused the federal mandate on electric vehicle sales, moves that pushed former Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault to leave the Liberals.
We're putting our foot off the gas when it comes to fighting climate change.
Carney also signed a deal with Alberta, paving the way for a new pipeline to be built to BC's coast. The Prime Minister says it's part of a larger energy plan that includes LNG exports and doubling Canada's electricity grid by 2050.
It will make Canada more sustainable, more affordable, and more prosperous.
A spokesperson for Premier Daniel Smith tells CTV News there will be a major announcement and new details to share about that new pipeline on Thursday. And Carney confirmed today there isn't a private proponent for the project yet. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Tomorrow's a key deadline for the CUSMA trade agreement between Canada, the U.S. and Mexico. Each country has until July 1st to say whether the pact should be renewed. Canada and Mexico want a 16-year extension. Donald Trump has suggested he'd rather end the deal. Regardless, the trade agreement is supposed to continue with an annual review for up to 10 years. A country would have to give 6 months' notice to officially pull out. Public transit fares go up tomorrow. Fares go up by an average of 3%. That means a monthly Zone A pass will cost $110 and a two-zone pass will cost $170. Also, the special South Shore REM pass is being eliminated. Meanwhile, the people who run the REM have launched an awareness campaign. It's to keep people away from the tracks.
Caténaire conduit 1500 volts.
They released a video. It warns people of the dangers of taking shortcuts over the tracks. The trains can't stop quickly. There's also a risk of electrocution. The REM also says an intrusion onto its tracks could force the entire network to shut down.
We're going to put in place a lot of measures, a lot of action in the coming weeks. We're going to install permanent signs, as you can see behind me, on the fence on various areas. We're going to organize kiosks in schools and targeted area as well. We're going to post on social media and a lot of other actions in the coming weeks to make sure that people are aware of the consequences and the risk.
Last November, 2 men died and a third was injured when they tried to cross the tracks in Brassard. Quebec has plans to revitalize Montreal's East End. It includes a cleanup of a former oil refinery site to turn it into a hub for new jobs. Sweeta Rassi has more on that.
This site in Montreal's East End has sat empty for decades. It was once home to Esso and its Imperial Oil Refinery. Now it's fenced off and the soil is contaminated. But the Quebec government plans to revitalize the area. Premier Christine Fréchette announced the province is providing $123 million to buy the land and clean it up. The site covers a total of 7 million square feet, located between Sherbrooke East and Notre-Dame East.
Which equates to 25 IKEA stores or 50 Costco stores. So you can imagine the amount of land it represents and the potential, the economic potential of this territory.
It's also near major highways, railroads, and homes, which officials say makes the location ideal to create a brand new commercial district, attracting private investments and in turn, creating jobs. For the business community, it's good news.
It has everything that major investors are looking for, and we've been asking that for a year. Put those land ready to develop, and investment will flow.
And Montreal Mayor Soraya Martinez-Ferrada agrees.
There is a lot of potential for creating the jobs that we need, and especially for the people that live in the east part of Montreal.
It's all part of Quebec's ongoing effort to revitalize industrial sites. In the East End alone, there is roughly 30 million square feet of vacant land. A publicly supported land development agency known as the SMTEM will oversee the decontamination of the property.
This is a destination for work. This is a destination for services. This is a destination even maybe for some parks and these types of things. So we want a place people want to live in.
It will take up to 10 years to fully decontaminate the site, but the plan is to open it in phases, meaning development could begin within the next few years. Sweet Rassi, CTV News.
Quebec has unveiled its 25-year energy plan. Energy Minister Bernard Drinville says the plan will help Quebec's economy and boost productivity. He says the overall goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and reliance on fossil fuels and focus instead on developing Quebec's hydro, wind and solar power.
Progressively, we will replace the energy we import, essentially oil, gas, by green energies. The end result is this. If you look at the current consumption of energy in Quebec right now, it's about half renewable, half fossils. In 25 years from now, it will be 3/4 green energy, renewable energy, and only 1/4 fossils. That's the plan.
And Laval is spending $25 million to upgrade its parks, pools and green spaces. The city says it's responding to demands from its citizens. 2 pools and several splash parks have been updated. And there are also improvements to baseball fields and to several sports courts.
This summer it's going to be hot and we're ready in Laval. We have 3 new pools that were renovated in the last year. We've also put forward some new water parks. We know that families, kids, they love that. And we're also working on having new access to the river, whether it's in Pont-Vieux, Sainte-Rose, Laval West. There's a new beach that opened up last year. So for us, it's important to give access to water and, you know, to freshness to our families when it's so hot like it's going to be in the next few days.
Coming up, there's a new danger in the skies.
Collided with a drone back there in the turn as we're coming to assault. Just wanted to pass that to you.
Drone strikes are happening all too often near airports. And international rescue teams in Venezuela. The death toll has hit 1,900. There were 2 major rulings from the U.S. Supreme Court today. One of them upheld birthright citizenship. That's something Donald Trump had been trying to overturn. Olivia Rubin has more.
Today, Democrats are celebrating a key ruling from the Supreme Court that upholds the right to birthright citizenship and blocks President Trump's executive order to end it.
This was the right decision.
The court ruling 6-3 to uphold the more than century-old legal precedent, which says that anyone born on American soil is a citizen.
I'm relieved and very happy that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of birthright citizenship today. And that is what makes America great.
But some Republicans are decrying the decisions. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson vowing to find a way to overturn it.
I will say I'm very disappointed in that outcome. I think it subjects the country to serious challenges going forward, and we'll have to deal with it as a Congress.
President Trump echoing that sentiment, saying we will work to correct the ruling in Congress. But President Trump is praising another ruling from the court, which upholds state laws that ban transgender athletes from women's sports. It was a central issue in Trump's 2024 campaign. The president now writing the ruling, quote, takes that ridiculous situation investigation off the table.
That's common sense and I think what we expected.
The case stemming from 2 teen athletes who were barred from competing in women's track and field in their respective states. But in a 6-3 ruling, the Supreme Court saying their exclusion is not a violation of Title IX and the 14th Amendment.
Community is like in a fight for its life.
And in another key decision today, the Supreme Court siding with Republicans and rolling back laws that restrict spending between candidates and their political parties. It all could unleash an onslaught of political spending just before the midterms. Olivia Rubin, ABC News, Washington.
U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner are in Doha today for a meeting over Iran. The two countries exchanged fire over the weekend, and that's put strain on an interim deal that was agreed to earlier this month, and that gave both sides 60 days to negotiate a permanent truce. The death toll in Venezuela has risen to at least 1,900 people. Rescue teams from around the world are still going through the rubble. They're hoping to find survivors. Ana Vanessa Herrero is in Caracas.
We're here in Caracas, where rescue efforts are still ongoing almost a week after the tragedy that hit Venezuela so hard. Behind me, you are seeing what used to be an apartment building, and teams of local rescuers and Mexican specialists are trying to dig into whatever is left to see if they can share a miracle with the world. Some of the Mexican crew have been telling me that they are not going to stop until this is absolutely over, until they are sure there is no way they're going to find anyone alive there. Now, throughout the week, there has been a roller coaster of emotions, and one, right now, what I'm sensing is a lot of criticism around the government actions or lack thereof. Regarding the tragedy. So, for example, here, as you can see, 2 big machines are trying to move what's rest of the building. But days ago, we saw that same machinery on top of the rest of the building. And one of the Mexican crew members told me that that is not how the protocol suggests you should approach this kind of problem, this kind of tragedy, because whoever was left alive could have been crushed by the weight of it. So there's a lot of things that are going on, and there are now being brought to the surface regarding how the government has been handling this. Still, volunteers and rescuers, local rescuers, international rescuers are working hard to see if another miracle can be shared.
Meanwhile, there are rescue workers going through the rubble of a 4-story apartment block in Athens. It collapsed suddenly. 4 people have been pulled from the wreckage. It's not clear whether anyone else is still missing. Construction work had been underway next door. In the United States, there have been several close calls at airports because of drones. Rena Roy has more on that.
Scary moments in the sky as a JetBlue flight from Las Vegas approached New York's JFK airport.
We collided with a drone back there in the turn as we were coming to assault. Just wanted to pass that to you.
You said you collided?
Yep, it hit us right above the cockpit.
The pilots reporting that drone strike happening at nearly 3,000 feet. The plane thankfully landing safely. JetBlue and the FAA say a post-flight inspection didn't find any damage or evidence of a collision, but an investigation is now underway. Then, just hours later,
Almost ran into a gigantic RC airplane right over there.
a helicopter pilot also flying near JFK says he nearly collided with a large remote-controlled airplane. These incidents come just days after a United pilot also reported a close call with a drone while landing at nearby Newark Airport.
We almost hit a drone right there about 100 feet below us.
One of the principal problems here is that even if you don't hit a drone, as an airliner, passing at about 250 knots, anything out there is a distraction, and we do not need distractions on approaches and landings.
And now this comes as many Americans begin to travel for July 4th. The TSA says it expects to screen more than 18 million travelers at airports across the country today through Monday. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
And coming up, she's back in the game.
Only ever planned on playing doubles. I really honestly never thought of going deeper than that. So it was kind of like a game time decision, I suppose.
Serena Williams was back on center court in Wimbledon. And a spacewalk today outside the space station. Repairs to the Canadarm.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
Increasing number of abandoned buildings.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVMontreal.ca, your home for news.
I'm Paul Hollingsworth on George's Island, Nova Scotia. Tonight on CTV National News. Inside an isolated island, shrouded in mystery with fortifications dating back hundreds of years.
You look at the island from the shore and you think, what's over there? What is that?
Tunneling through the secrets that lie beneath this historic site. Tonight on CTV National News and CTVnews.ca.
The NATO alliance is preparing to meet next month. Among the leaders, a growing fear that they can no longer rely on the United States if Russia should attack. Roger Hilton is with the global think tank Globsec in Slovakia. Hi, Roger.
Good evening, Montreal. Good evening, Mitsumi.
So, Roger, a lot of tension between the U.S. and Europe. Many European leaders aren't saying it publicly. I guess they're worried about antagonizing Donald Trump. But is there a real fear of a possible Russian attack and the U.S. not coming to Europe's aid?
Well, just to clarify something, Europe right now and for the last 18 months has already been under attack with over 150 gray zone tactics. So the reports of a false flag operation or Russia having to laterally escalate because of what's going on in Ukraine is just a further step of escalation. In terms of the U.S., there's nothing to suggest right now, despite the bluster coming from the White House, that Article 5 doesn't remain ironclad. There's high support in the Congress. It's legally binding. And most importantly, on the mill-to-mill level, everything is working fine. So again, let's not overreact just yet.
But what would a response to a Russian attack look like if the U.S. were not to take part?
What's important about that is what an actual attack constitutes, right? Because as I said, Russia is already quite preoccupied with Ukraine. So a lot of what is being reported right now is sort of just under Article 5. There's various ideas of, saving Russian citizens in NATO-occupied territory. But what's most important that any other attack that happens that does surpass a certain level, the response from NATO would be immediate. It would look to restore deterrence without over-escalating. Even without U.S. involvement, there are still a handful of very capable militaries, the UK, France, Poland, Sweden, Finland, the Baltic states. So as I said, there's no reason to think that they couldn't. And as I said, they're preparing for this situation for delayed or limited American involvement for a while across the alliance.
A lot has been said about the current tensions between Europe and the U.S. and how Vladimir Putin might have been emboldened by this. Do you think then, you talk about these little minor incursions that have happened, are we going to see more of this, do you think, and where?
Well, I think he continues to sort of push a little bit, as Stalin said, you hit until you stop on steel, because the response hasn't been as strong as it is. The fact is, Mitsumi, that again, over the last 18 months, Europe has come in a huge way in responding to it, whether it's the Ghost Fleet, arresting people, changing legislation when it comes to drones or the police. But in terms of the area where this is most likely to happen, it's unsurprising that it would be in their former backyard in the former Soviet Union. And the one that gets a lot of policy gaming going on is between the Kaliningrad enclave in Lithuania and Russia, where they would look to sort of cut off the Baltic states, which back in the day before Finland and Sweden joined might have been a serious issue. But despite that, it still seems as if NATO is prepared for this and can surge troops in the event Russia does take this unbelievably stupid decision to escalate against NATO.
So the NATO leaders are supposed to be meeting next month. What would be on the agenda then?
Well, as we said, I mean, the way to President Trump's heart and make this a smooth sailing in Ankara is money and charts and making sure everything goes well. So they've already agreed to the 5% spending, 3.5% on capabilities and 1.5% on other words. But the word on the street right now, Mitsumi, is that they really want to pump up these numbers in terms of what they look like for the American economy and companies moving forward. And as I said, Secretary General Root has done an unbelievable job being the Trump whisperer. With his visit in the White House, he said that there was over 5,000 American flights that took off during the war with Iran. So as I said, keeping things going and showing what a European presence after a final negotiated settlement with Iran would look like is also a big issue that would please President Trump.
And Roger, where's Canada in all of this?
Canada is not on the sidelines. I want to reiterate for everybody. The PM spoke to Secretary General Rutte yesterday, and since then there are over 3,000 Canadian troops serving in Europe right now, 2,000 of them in a major flashpoint in Latvia. Canada continues to train Ukrainian troops in the UK. There are UK troops training on drones in Alberta right now. So, I mean, they understand the threat landscape that's going on. I think the PM is very blunt and honest about what's ready. And as I said, in the event that something were to happen, it's not just the readiness of the troops in Europe, but the ability for Canada to surge more manpower and hardware if necessary and support allies to make sure that these are not rescue operations, but that deterrence is still really there.
Okay, thank you very much for this, Roger.
Happy Canada, and go Canada, go against Morocco.
A glacier lake has burst and floodwaters are headed towards a community northeast of Pemberton in British Columbia. An evacuation order was issued for 24 homes in the area last week. Officials say the burst is ongoing and what they're calling hazardous debris is flowing and expected to peak tomorrow. Wildfires in the Northwest Territories have forced the evacuation of 2 communities. People have driven hundreds of kilometers to seek refuge in Yellowknife. So far, no reports of damage to homes or buildings. And Prime Minister Mark Carney is attending a meeting in Kuujjuaq today on the Inuit Crown Partnership Committee.
Over the past year, we have made some significant progress. But we've also discovered areas where we can deepen cooperation.
Carney is discussing Arctic sovereignty with Inuit leaders, as well as affordability in Canada's north. Also on the agenda, Arctic foreign policy and ongoing plans to build an Inuit-led university. Well, heat wave or not, Canada Day activities will take place as planned at Montreal's Old Port. They include a 21-gun salute with the armed forces, a swearing-in ceremony for new citizens, and family soccer games.
We really want to pass the word that be proud to be Canadian, be proud to be a part of our country. And this is what they're going to see all day long tomorrow, even with the artists, with the activities, they're going to say, okay, this is proudly Canadian, made in Canada. So, and it's very diversity with the multicultural. So, because there's percussionists, there's all kind of countries, events coming from other countries, so they'll discover that.
Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
Well, we will be roasting for sure this Canada Day. That's as a heat wave moves across much of Quebec. Here's what we're seeing right now temperature-wise, though. 27 degrees in Montreal, a slightly cooler 25 in Mirabel, 24 over in Sherbrooke. But as of now, with the humidity, things are kicking in, with it feeling more like 32 for those of us on the island here. So there is more of that to come. And that 32 falling just a few degrees shy of our record high for this day that we hit in 1964 at a temperature of 35.0. And we're expecting a warm night as well. So a warm low sitting at 23 degrees. That's expected to come along with a % chance of showers and possible thunderstorm risk. But there is good news as we move into tomorrow morning again for Canada Day. We're expecting to start off the day with sun and clouds and a wake-up temperature of 24 degrees. So similar to what we had earlier this morning. For afternoon, it's gonna feel a lot warmer. So daytime highs expected at 33 degrees, along with a 40% chance of showers likely coming in later in the evening. With that, we are also forecasting potential thunderstorms. Again, that would be toward the evening. So we see the showers coming in at about 2 a.m. On Wednesday, then that clears out. So as for tomorrow's showers, we see those surrounding the Montreal area closer to 7 p.m. p.m., but it shouldn't stick around for too long. That said, we do see some more showers coming into our longer range forecast over the next few days. So Thursday, we are forecasting roughly 5 millimeters coming our way. That would be with warm temperatures, though, continuing. So a high of 34 degrees, expected to feel more like 44. Another warm day on Friday and headed into the weekend. So our daytime high looking like 32 for Friday with a mix of sun and clouds. And then as we head into Saturday, that is when we start to see a slight move down in temperatures. So our daytime highs for the weekend are falling at 29 on both Saturday and Sunday. Saturday could potentially bring some light showers once again, but good news is to end the weekend and start the week, we are looking at a return to sun and cloud.
Serena Williams was back at Wimbledon today. It was her first singles match in nearly 4 years. She lost, though, to a 20-year-old from Australia. Alex Stone reports.
A triumphant return after a 4.5-year hiatus from Wimbledon. Serena Williams walking back onto center court to cheers from the crowd, the same court she won all 7 of her Wimbledon singles titles on. Now 44 years old, taking the court to play an opponent half her age, 20-year-old Maya Joint of Australia. It's Williams' first singles match since the 2022 U.S. Open. Before the match, Williams telling ESPN she decided to do it because she figured she may never get the chance again.
I had only ever planned on playing doubles. I had really honestly never thought of going deeper than that. So it was kind of like a game time decision, I suppose.
Williams said going into the match, she was not nervous, but she wanted to be calm and just have fun.
I think, my intensity and my passion is always great, but I've never just was like, oh, let's just have fun.
Williams stepped away from tennis to focus on growing family and business endeavors. She returned to the court earlier this month when she played doubles at the Queen's Tournament in London. Everyone from fans to fellow tennis pros celebrating her return.
First and foremost, what she's doing is very inspirational and it's epic, and it's what I told her.
Next up, Serena will take the court with her sister Venus for doubles later this week. She's played in 2 doubles warm-up matches, but with other partners. That, too, is a hot ticket at this year's Wimbledon. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
And coming up, he is an expert tree planter.
Felt it before, and I want that feeling back of, you're in the fire.
And he wants to break a world record planting trees.
Tonight, extreme weather casts a cloud over Canada Day preparations.
I'm going slower.
You just got to stay hydrated, right? Yeah. And if you don't, you're in trouble.
Millions braving a dangerous heat dome as fires and flooding threaten communities. Later on CTV National News and watch on Crave.
Your Health, brought to you by Gratian Scaff's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
A reminder about GLP-1 medications. They can jumpstart weight loss, but they're not a shortcut. Here's Michelle Franzen.
Combining diet and exercise with GLP-1s may be the winning recipe for long-term weight loss success, according to researchers from Mass General Brigham. GLP-1s can help tip the bathroom scale in your favor, but they can also cause muscle loss. Losing muscle may weaken your strength, reduce mobility, and increase risk of injury. Adequate hydration, protein intake, and exercise habits that include muscle strengthening can combat this. Muscle burns more energy than fat, which is better for long-term weight control. In the end, GLP-1s are a powerful tool. The real transformation still comes from how you eat, move, and live. With this Medical Minute, I'm Michelle Franzen.
2 NASA astronauts went on a spacewalk today. They were making repairs on the space station's robotic arm.
I see you've got your tether in a good config. I see it not tangled with anything. And I see your VR key is good. You look like you're in a good config.
Astronauts Chris Williams and Jessica Meyer began their spacewalk just after 8 this morning. The joint on the Canadarm2 malfunctioned in May. The Canadarm2 was installed on the space station in 2001, and that is nearly as old as the space station itself.
Business news brought to you by Au Vieux de Louvre. Generous and delicious plates all the time.
The Canadian economy, it seems, has rebounded from the technical recession. Christine Lee has the latest from Stats Canada.
Canada reporting an economic turnaround with real gross domestic product rising 0.5% in April. This beat economist expectations, effectively pulling Canada out of a brief technical recession. Growth was widespread across sectors, driven by a surge in oil and gas extraction, alongside long-awaited rebounds in manufacturing, construction, and Toronto real estate activity. Statistics Canada forecasts an increase of 0.1% in GDP growth in May. Trade tensions are mounting as the United States is poised to formally miss tomorrow's July 1st deadline to agree on an automatic extension of the Canada-United States-Mexico Agreement, or CUSMA. While the Continental Trade Pact remains firmly in place, blowing past this target triggers a mandatory, more rigorous review process. Foreign institutional investors are snapping up Canadian federal debt in record amounts, purchasing nearly $28 billion in April, according to the most recent data for Government of Canada bonds. This strong appetite for Canada's rare AAA-rated sovereign bonds is a welcome development for the federal government, effectively easing borrowing costs for Prime Minister Mark Carney's ambitious infrastructure and nation-building initiatives. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up to 70.48. West Texas Intermediate is down $1.25 to 69.50. Western Canadian Select is up $2 to 56.57. And the TSX is up 33 points today. Those are your business news headlines. I'm Christine Lee.
A man is trying to break a record for tree planting. He's trying to plant 15,000 trees in a single day. Alison Bamford reports.
A quick pierce of the ground, and then he moves on.
I can do one here, I can do a step.
You could call Kenny Chaplin a veteran tree planter. He's been in the business nearly 40 years.
This is something I'm good at.
Chaplin first set the Guinness World Record for most trees planted in a day in 2001, planting more than 15,000 in 17 hours. A record he held for 2 decades before it was broken.
I've felt it before, and I want that feeling back of, you're in the fire.
This time around, Chaplin will have to plant 24,000 trees in 24 hours to beat the record. That's 1 tree every 3.6 seconds.
I don't want to be the rabbit, but I have to find a pace.
And maintain it all day and night until 8 a.m. tomorrow.
He's seen all kinds of land, I'm sure, so this is not going to be too hard for him. He just has to get in a state of mind and see if he's got the stamina.
This time of the year, these muscles are quite used to this.
The 56-year-old has been training for this, planting trees full-time for the last 2 months, building up strength, endurance, and determination.
I'm feeling like I'm in my late 20s.
Chaplin's not doing this alone. He's had people donate the trees, land, and equipment. His twin brother is assisting in the field, and he says the memory of their late sister is supporting them every step of the way.
My sister that introduced me to tree planting, I just feel that gene will be on my shoulder.
This is a challenge rooted in family, and for Chaplin, these 24 hours mean more than just a record.
The trees, they'll be here for my daughter's kids to walk through.
A legacy that will grow over time. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Buena Vista, Saskatchewan.
Europe's most active volcano, Mount Etna, has erupted again. Rivers of lava can be seen coming down the slopes of the mountain in Sicily. The eruption could be seen from miles away. Eruptions on Mount Etna happen quite frequently, and they're usually not a threat to the people who live nearby. And archaeologists in Denmark have unearthed a massive textile production site that dates back to the Vikings. The site is massive, 100,000 square meters. It includes a dedicated area for processing flax. It also contains more than 80 huts that would have been workshops and dwellings. The site could date back between 600 and 950 AD. And a rare baby giraffe has been born in a Belgian zoo. The Kordofan giraffe is considered a critically endangered species. The zoo says the birth went smoothly and the baby is already standing. How cute is she? She will be named at a later date.
Stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here tonight on CTV.
Tomorrow is Canada Day. A lot of stores and facilities will be closed. Municipal offices in Montreal and other cities will close tomorrow. The same goes for grocery stores, banks, shopping malls, most retailers. Public transit will be running on a holiday schedule, while household waste collection will take place as usual. It's going to be a hot one tomorrow.
That's right, and we are already seeing evidence of some of that heat tonight. Our normal overnight low sits at 15 degrees. Tonight we're looking at a low of 23, and along with that we are also forecasting some potential showers. So the good news is as we head into tomorrow morning, so into Canada Day, we are expecting those showers to clear out. So seeing sun and clouds for the morning, even into the early afternoon as we make our way to an expected high of 33, and then later into the evening, we do start to see another chance of potential thunder and showers. So that would be on the lighter side is what we're forecasting as of now. Expecting to see some similar conditions on Thursday and that heat continuing into Friday as well. Mitsumi.
And a programming note, there will be no CTV News Montreal newscasts tomorrow, Canada Day. So for the latest news throughout the day, you can listen to News Talk Radio CJ 800, or you can visit our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca. And that's it for us. Have a good evening. Happy Canada Day. Stay well. Good night.